Worth It is seen as a brand that specialises in working with young people. You can't, it's two sides of the same coin. You can't improve teacher well-being without improving young people's well-being, or children's well-being, and vice versa. You can't improve children's well-being without improving staff well-being, because well-being is facilitated through interactions and relationships. So we need to create this container of well-being in our schools that enables children and staff to flourish. Well-being issues and stress for teachers is a massive problem. The UK Health and Safety executives say that teaching is and work-related stress for educational professionals is the highest in any profession in Britain. That's more than firefighters, that's more than the police force, that's like more than social work, more than nursing. It's the teaching profession is cracking up. So the Education Support Partnership did a survey last year, and they found that 75% of school staff and 84% of leaders were stressed. 84% of school leaders are stressed. 59% of all educational staff and leaders have considered leaving. Imagine if 60% of your teachers just quit. There isn't enough teachers to backfill, is there? There's just not enough being trained. I don't know if you're having recruitment issues, getting new teachers in, if you're having a churn of staff. It's quite a common problem. Some of the schools that we work with do say that they now have quite sticky staff that they don't want to leave either. They tend to leave if they're on maternity or they're moving house to a whole another area, like their partner's got a job far away or something. So we want to get to that point where your staff love your school and they've got really great well-being there and they don't want to leave. Unless it's for professional development reasons or like personal reasons or something. 78% have experienced symptoms of mental health, such as insomnia, forgetfulness, tearfulness, due to their work, rising to 87% of school leaders. So they are symptoms of stress. They are like literally symptoms of stress. So stress isn't a mental health problem. Stress is a reaction to too much pressure. Quite often people think stress is a mental health problem. It's not. Stress is a precursor. So if you experience chronic stress for a long time, it can, in some cases, develop into a mental health problem. Stress is a reaction to too much pressure. The staff mental health and well-being is essential for a whole school approach to mental health for students and pupils. If a member of staff is burning out and they have a lack of empathy and they're cynical, that is symptoms of burnout, that they're not going to be able to listen to a child or a young person that's got worries or anxieties or or emotional outbursts. They're not going to notice, they're not going to be able to support that child. So that's why we have to do more to support staff wellbeing. But then it has a knock-on effect, because the staff, their well-being levels dip when they feel that they can't cope and they feel that they're not doing their job properly and they're not helping the children and they're losing their sense of meaning and their sense of purpose, and it's like a vicious cycle. Okay, so factors that influence staff and teacher well-being. So social, economic status or financial security. So this is why at the moment we're in a perfect storm, all the pay related issues with teaching, the teaching profession and education sector, pay caps and all of that, lack of progression, along with the cost of living crisis. Some families, struggling, their partner might have been made redundant, or they might be at risk of redundancy in your school. So there's just that financial pressure, bills are going up, people just don't have enough money. Sense of professional autonomy. If your school's got a high stakes accountability, a sense of scrutiny, people don't feel trusted and autonomous to be able to get on with their jobs, that is going to have a detrimental effect on their well-being, and it is going to cause them stress. So my issue with this one is it's designed into the system. So the way the D4E operates is Ofsted operate is that scrutiny, which then makes us stressed and makes us kind of clamp down on people and takes away their autonomy. So it's having like a negative effect on their well-being by the design of what we're operating within. So it's what can we do within the systems that we're working within to counteract that. And their sense of connectedness to other people in the school. Every time I go and do anything to do with staff well-being in a school, people will say, we want to do more stuff together. We want to share as a team. We want to communicate more. We want to be together more. We want to have more staff fun stuff and after school activity, staff outings and after school activities, and go to the pub together and things like that. So we are human beings. Human beings need to be together with other people. We need to support each other. So developing a sense of connectedness to each other and the school influences staff wellbeing. So if your staff feel they don't care about school, they're disillusioned, they got no connection, then that's going to impact their wellbeing. Their sense of agency, how much control they have over their work, and how they can motivate themselves and things like that, and their beliefs about their personal competence. So this is where individual difference comes in, and why some people can cope with the demands of work and some people can't, because of their beliefs about themselves and their own beliefs in their own personal competence. So it's a multi-dimensional, multifaceted thing, teacher wellbeing, and it's in a very complex, dynamic environment that they're operating in. And then you throw children and teenagers into the mix. So the higher health and safety executive definition of stress is, it's the process that arises when demands of various types and combinations exceed the person's capacity to cope. So the stress happens when you feel like that you just can't cope with everything that's coming at you. So you might be able to cope to a certain degree, and then it's the straw that broke the camel's back. It's the thing that sends you over the edge. It is a significant cause of illness and disease, and it's known to be linked with higher levels of sickness, absence, staff turnover, including indicators of organisational underperformance and human error. When people are in a chronic state of stress, they get physical illnesses. So people might be off sick with flu and infections and eczema and tummy ache and IBS and migraines and aches and pains and all stuff like that, but it might be caused actually by stress. They're just not aware because it's manifesting itself as all these random physical symptoms, or there are cognitive impairments. Because we're stressed, we can't concentrate properly. So if you're feeling stressed all the time, you might forget the books you were marking. So you just forgetful, random stuff happens, and then you get very worried, and then you ruminate, and then it's this self-perpetuating cycle. So stress is it's our personal perception and how we feel in our emotions that are crucial to somebody understanding what stress is. And stress is a negative emotional experience when we perceive demands exceed our perceived resources. So other people might look at that person and think, well, why are they getting so stressed? I've got the same situation as them and I'm fine. It's because they think they can't cope. They can't see the resources that they have, that the other person can see that they have. So when we do a lot of work around staff wellbeing and reducing stress management techniques, it's about helping people change the way they think and feel about things, as much as it is practical, strategic changes to school as well. So it's complicated because we've got individuals and we've got systems and structures and processes. That's why we need to be having a multi-pronged attack to tackling this. Key factors that contribute to wellbeing then for teachers and staff is the demands of the job, such as workload and work environment. I pretty much know that teaching has got huge workloads, and if you ask any teacher what one thing could I take away that would make you less stressed, they will say workload. But workload's a complex thing. It isn't actually always just the actual work. It is people's reactions to the work, how they think and feel about the work, and the emotional demands of the work that they're doing, not just the actual tasks. And then it can be, is it quantitative or qualitative workload? So is there lots and lots of small things that they need to do? Or is it qualitative? Is it they can't find the mental space to work on something more strategic or bigger, or a curriculum or something, lesson planning, something that takes a bit more brain power, that's a bit more cognitively demanding. So because their brain's taken up with all these small, irritating hassle tasks all the time. So how much control they have, so their own influence on how their job is carried out. So if they feel that they've got more control, if they feel that they've got more autonomy, then they will have higher well-being, which can be scary as a leadership team to release that control over people, but it's going to improve their well-being. the level of support they receive from colleagues, their line manager, and their organisation itself. So I'm going to talk a little bit about peer and leadership and management support. And it's sometimes I work with schools, and the school leadership team will be like, but there's loads of support. We have an open door policy. They can come to us anytime, but they don't feel able to walk through that open door for their own barriers or their own fears or their own worries about judgment and stigma and being seen to even go and ask for help. So many layers to this stuff. The quality of relationships with colleagues and students to reduce conflict and deal with unpredictable behaviour. One of the other major stressors is student behaviour issues and that perceived lack of ability to cope with the demands of those issues, and mental health issues in pupils. Many teachers don't feel confident to support children and young people, so then that makes them feel incompetent at their job, and that's just another layer of stress that adds on top of everything else. And as we know, the mental health needs of children and young people are rapidly increasing as well. So it's their understanding of their role and their job context and expectations, role clarity. So what am I meant to be doing? And when somebody's just suddenly given to cover somebody else's work, or someone's off sick and they've got to, pick up and run with it, and there's no clarity, that's stressful. So there's just, can you see how there's just loads and loads of things that are adding up to why staff are so stressed and why their well-being's going down. And also management change and how the change is managed in the organisation. So I'm sure all of your schools have been through a ton of change in the recent years, and basically it's one constant thing in education is change. So how resilient people are to be able to manage that change, how the change is articulated, are we all clear about the change, do we all believe in that vision, are we all bought in, and all of that kind of stuff is a reason to have good well-being, because our well-being can be developed through the process of change, or the process of change can make people feel very, very stressed and disillusioned and disconnected from school, which then makes them have lower well-being. What do we do about all that then? So how do we help? So this is from occupational psychology. So we have like a primary, secondary or tertiary stress management response. So you might be thinking, tell me if I'm wrong, that our response to managing stress is more tertiary, which is after someone's got stressed and they've been off sick, we do a phased return to work, and we get them a counsellor. So that is a tertiary response where we rehabilitate and repair the damage. I'm not saying don't do that, I'm saying you must do that as part of your approach to supporting staff. But what we want to do is prevent them getting to that stage in the first place. And the way we do that is we work on reducing the source of stress through primary interventions, which is what is in my Staff Wellbeing Toolkit. Loads of different suggestions and ideas and tools for primary interventions, where we change change stress at source and adjust the demands and resources we adjust the job demands and increase the job resources. So that can look like things like people having updated job specs. So they've got greater role clarity and expectations, especially if you've just gone through a big change and restructure. It can look like workload reduction, focus groups where staff are looking at what is causing all the workload issues. Can we reduce marking? Can we do feedback in the moment instead of having to do written feedback? That kind of thing. So all of the things that are taking, what are the pinch points in the year when everyone gets stressed, exam time, Christmas, and how can we change that at source so it becomes less stressful, or we don't try and do extra things at those times of years or something like that. So strategic, that's where your strategic kind of work around, can we reduce the demands that we're putting on people, and can we help increase resources? So can we help people have more autonomy? Can we help them feel more competent? Can we help improve relationships and connections and belonging, empathy and things like that? So we do that from a whole staff team systematic approach. And then we want to do secondary interventions where we help the person cope with their own personal resources. And this is where individual difference comes in, and why you like how you think and feel and behave in different scenarios and different situations, and building up people's individual awareness of how they cope with stress and how they want to improve their well-being. We like basically turn that dial up so that people can cope better. If you do one without doing the other, so if you do tertiary interventions and secondary interventions without reducing the source of stress in the first place, that's very unethical, I would say, because what we're trying to do, what we're doing is just making, they're not resilient enough to cope, but actually is your school environment contributing to them experiencing more stress in the first place. So we have to do both at the same time. We have to help people learn strategies to increase their own well-being and take personal responsibility, have greater autonomy over the things that help them have good well-being for themselves as individuals. We have to help them know where they can go for help when they need it, where they can reach out to, who can they talk to if they are struggling, and make it okay to be able to do that and reduce stigma so that people can do that. But we have to reduce the source of demands of stress as well. Otherwise, you're just sticking plasters on stuff all the time, and you're not actually changing things for the long term that's going to make a significant difference. That is not a quick fix. So you can do quick fixes and you can help people become more resilient and learn wellbeing strategies, etc. But you also at the same time have to be thinking long term about how can we mitigate against these demands in the first place, and how can we stop people getting so stressed in the first place.